Hello guys, Fish967 here. So today we're going to take a look at that commander deck I was telling you about. That is if you watched my last video. If you didn't, this is a Tatyova Benthic Druid commander deck, and what we're going to be doing is, it's basically blue splash green Landfall. Minus the landfall, but the lands matter, so anyway. Tatyova Benthic Druid is a 5-drop 3/3, a legendary creature Merfolk Druid in Simic colors. Whenever land enters the battlefield under your control, you gain life and draw a card, so that part's really good, and that's actually what we've based our deck on. Is we use um, ramp spells to draw our cards and gain us life, and the cards that we're going to draw are probably going to be counter spells, and that's what we do. That's our deck. So here we go. We've got Mind Unbound, 6-drop enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, put a lore counter on it, and then draw a card for each lore counter on it. So, oh, by the way, I didn't mention how we win. We win with the new Jace, or Lab Maniac if you don't have the new Jace, by drawing our deck out. So, that's how we do it. Sky Shroud Claim is a 4-drop sorcery. Search your library for up to 2 forest cards, put them on the battlefield, then shuffle. Pour over the pages, a 5-drop sorcery, draw 3 cards, and tap up to 2 lands, and then discard a card. Grow from the Ashes, 3-drop sorcery, kicker for 2, search your library for a basic land card, put on the battlefield, then shuffle your library. If it was kicked, you search for 2 basic land cards, put them on the battlefield, then shuffle. They aren't tapped. Actually, a lot of our ramp spells don't put them on tapped. Whelming Wave, a 4-drop sorcery, return all creatures in others' hands, except for Krakens, Leviathans, Octopuses, and Serpents. That should say Octopi, but it says Octopuses. Good job, Wizards of the Coast. Foil, a 4-drop instant. You may discard an island card and another card rather than pay the spell's mana cost counter target spell. We're going to have tons of lands just in our hand because we draw so many cards and we actually can't play all the lands in the amount of time that a game takes. So discard lands and counter something for free in case you can't actually counter it because, I don't know, you don't have mana. Samurai Convergence, an 8-drop enchantment. Creatures with flying can't attack you or planeswalkers you control. At the beginning of your upkeep, create a 5/5 green worm creature token. So that's pretty good. We do have a combo in here where we can't get attacked except for if the creature has Island Walk that's attacking us. That's literally the only way that we can be attacked is by Island Walk. So we do have that. This is part of that. I'll set it aside. Anyway, we have Jace's Sanctum. 4-drop enchantment is in sorcery spells you cast. Cost 1 less to cast. Whenever you cast an sorcery spell, scry 1. You could, of course, include Brawl and Sapphire Medallion, I believe, are the other 2 cards that do it. Sapphire Medallion is just blue spells. Brawl is instants and sorceries, if I'm correct, but it might be blue spells. And then there's also Primal Amulet, that is instant and sorceries, and then flips over to Primal Wellspring, which would be a good addition to the deck. I've got no idea where mine went. Circular Logic, a 3-drop instant, counter target spell, unless its controller pays 1 for each card in their graveyard with Madness. No, each card in your graveyard and has Madness. Thwart, a 4-drop instant, you may return 3 islands you control to their owner's hand instead of paying its mana cost, counter target spell. Disappearing Act, 3-drop instant, as an additional cost to cast it, you may return a permanent you have to return a permanent you control to its owner's hand, then you counter target spell. That can be on land, so then you can get an additional landfall trigger if you wish. Ensnare, 4-drop instant, may return 2 islands you control to their owner's hand instead of paying its mana cost to tap all creatures. As you can tell, we are playing, I'm going to cast stuff without having to have mana. So, not really, but that's just what those cards do, and they happen to be in that specific order. Full of Ideas, a 6-drop sorcery, draw a card for each island you control. I've drawn 40 cards with this. I did not have 40 islands, I had 10 islands, but then I copied the spell, and I drew double the amount of cards. Insidious Well, 4-drop instant, choose 1, counter target spell, you may choose new targets for target spell, or copy target instant or sorcery spell, you may choose new targets for the copy. Journey of Discovery, 3-drop sorcery, choose 1, search your library for up to 2 basic land cards, reveal them, put them in your hand, then shuffle your library, or you may play up to 2 additional lands this turn, or you can entwine it and do both, but you have to pay an additional 3 mana. Glimmer of Genius, a 4-drop instant, scry 2, draw 2, you get 2 energy. Pretty good. We don't use the energy for anything. Cultivate, a 3-drop sorcery, search your library for up to 2 basic land cards, reveal those cards, put 1 on the battlefield, tap the other into your hand, then shuffle. Back to Nature, a 2-drop instant, destroy all enchantments. You don't have to run this. I run this specifically because somebody right now is going through an enchantment deck phase, and yeah, it's actually really hard to do anything about the enchantments, and they make 5/5 tramplers that just get bigger for every single enchantment that they play, so this just wipes the board, and it's pretty nice, actually. A mana short, 3-drop instant tap all lands target player controls an empty his or mana pool. Fun. It's actually really good in case you tap most of your mana and you don't want to deal with a player their next turn. Mass Manipulation, XX, 4 blue, sorcery, gain control of X target creatures and or planeswalkers. We shouldn't have a problem paying that cost. Incubation, Incognuity. Incubation doesn't matter because we're never going to cast it. Incognuity is a 3-drop instant exile target creatures. That creature's controller creates a 3/3 green frog, loses a creature token. If you really wanted to cast Incognuity, I guess you could, but you'd only do that if you're searching for a way to make sure that you can't be attacked. And even then, you'd have to have an additional 8 mana if you're going to do it that way. Sylvan Scrying, a 2-drop sorcery, search your library for a land card, can be non-basic. Reveal it, put it in your hand, then shuffle. Lazotep Plating, 2-drop instant, amass 1. You and permanents you control gain hexproof until the end of the turn. Psychic Rebuttal, 2-drop instant, counter targets instant or sorcery spell that targets you, spell master. If there are 2 more instant and or sorcery cards in your graveyard, which there will be, you may copy the spell counter this way. You may choose new targets for the copy. This card's really fun. Overwhelming Intellect, a 6-drop instant, counter target. Oh wait, that's his creature spell. That might be a problem. I didn't read that part. Counter target creature spell, draw cards equal to that spell's converted mana cost. Probably just take this out for any other counter spell that's a 3-drop because I did not read that that had to be a creature spell, and that reduces the usefulness of this card quite a bit. You could always do Spell Swindle. Does basically the same thing. But not exactly. Overwhelming Denial, 4-drop instant search for 2. It can't be countered by spells or abilities, counter target spell, and you pay the search cost if you or a teammate has cast a spell this turn. Oh boy. Rakashaw's Disdain, a 3-drop instant, counter target spell unless its controller pays 1 for each card in the graveyard. Harrow, a 3-drop instant, as additional cost to cast it. Sacrifice a land, search your library for up to 2 basic land cards, put them onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. Those are untapped. We've got Wilderness Reclamation, 4-drop enchantment at the beginning of your end, step untap all lands you control. That's where it gets fun, because then you play out your turn, and then hopefully you untap all your lands, and then you have all your instants and everything that you need to do everything, which is annoying. And the new Leyline that they printed, I actually don't know if it's new Leyline, but it's coming out in Core Set 2020. You get your hands on it. If you get your hands on it, it's a 4-drop enchantment that says you can cast spells as though they had flash, and if it's in your opening hand, it comes on the battlefield for free. So it's worth investing in. Serene Remembrance is a 1-drop sorcery. Shuffle it and up to 3 target cards from a single graveyard into their owner's library. We don't use big shuffle cards because we are drawing our deck out, so we use little shuffle cards to get the job done. Confirm Suspicion, 5-drop, instant, counter target spell, investigate 3 times, which means that you make a clue that has pay to sacrifice it, draw a card. Aethergale, 5-drop sorcery, returns 6 target non-land permanents to their owner's hands. Pretty good for just resetting the board. Rewind, 4-drop, interrupt, which means it's an instant. I'm pretty sure, but I've been told by people that an interrupt is actually higher than an instant on priority, but I'm not sure how valid that statement is, so we're going to go with it's an instant. Counter target spell, untap up to 4 lands. Dissolve, a 3-drop instant, counter target spell, scry 1. Countervailing Winds, 3-drop instant, counter target spell unless the controller pays 1 for each card in your graveyard, with cycling for 2. Pull from Tomorrow, pay X and 2 blue, instant draw X, then discard a card. We've got Sinister Sabotage, 3-drop instant, counter target spell, surveil 1. Eyes Everywhere, 3-drop enchantment at the beginning of your upkeep, scry 1, and then pay 6, exchange control of it, and target non-land permanent, activate this ability only anytime you can cast a sorcery. We're probably not going to be doing that, it's mostly there for the scry. Counterspell, 2-drop counter target spell. Archetype of Endurance, an 8-drop enchantment creature boar. Creatures you control have hexproof, which we only have a couple, but the ones that we do have are important, and creatures your opponents control lose hexproof and can't have or gain hexproof. This is probably one of my favorite counter spells. Power Sink is X and blue, interrupt, counter target spell unless that spell's caster pays an additional X. They draw and pay all mana from lands and mana pool until X is paid. So they have to pay X, or they have to at least try to pay X if it resolves. So if this thing resolves and you're countering a spell and the X was 7, they only have 5 mana, all 5 mana goes to paying X and then the spell's countered. Woohoo, you effectively just nuked their turn. If until X is paid, he or she may also draw mana from other sources if desired. They don't have to, though, but they do have to pay everything from lands. Broken Concentration, 3-drop instant counter target spell with Madness for 4. I don't know why it has Madness for 4. That doesn't make sense to me. Summary's Dismissal, 4-drop, exile all other spells, counter all other abilities, and the counter all abilities is nice in case they're doing something with planeswalkers, or they're storm deck. I don't know. It's commander. Anything could happen. So it's just nice. Stormtide Leviathan. It's an 8-drop Island Walk Leviathan. All lands are islands in addition to their other types, and creatures without flying or Island Walk can't attack. And if you have Samurai Convergence out, creatures with flying can't attack you, which means only things with Island Walk can attack you, which is amazing. Also, we don't have the archetype that gives all of our creatures flying, because if we did that, then we would be effectively neutering Sandworm Convergence, and besides, we don't play creatures, so what's it matter? Fountain of Renewal, 1-drop artifact at the beginning of your upkeep, you gain 1 life, pay 3 to sacrifice a draw card. I don't know why that's in there. I can't remember. Vizier of Many Faces, 4-drop. Basically, it becomes a copy of something on the battlefield, unless it's embalmed. If it's embalmed, it's a white zombie, in addition to its other colors and types. Or no, it just is white. It doesn't have any other colors, and it also has no mana cost, and it embalms for 5. Spark Double, it becomes a copy of your creature Planeswalker as a creature, and is with additional +1/+1 counter. If it's a Planeswalker, it is with additional loyalty counter, and you have to control the creature. Clone, it clones something, same thing as the last couple. Swarm Intelligence, 7-drop enchantment. Whenever you cast a sorcery spell, you may copy that spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. Zendikar Resurgent, 7-drop enchantment. Whenever you tap a land for mana, add 1 mana to your mana pool of any type that land produced, and whenever you cast a creature spell, draw a card. Monastery Siege is a 3-drop enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, you choose Khans or Dragons. Khans which is the one that you're going to be choosing, is going to be Khans. You, at the beginning of your draw step, draw an additional card, then discard a card, or Dragon. Suppose your opponent's cast the target you or permanent you control costs 2 more to cast. You're just going to be choosing Khans, because I said so. Unless you really want to choose Dragons, but why would you do that? You should just pick Khans, because Khans is significantly better. Unless Dragons happens to be better. I have dug myself into a hole. Moving on. Archmage Ascension, 3-drop enchantment. At the beginning of your end step, if you drew 2... No, that does not... At the beginning of each end step, including your opponent's, if you drew 2 or more cards this turn, you may put a quest counter on it. As long as it has 6 or more quest counters on it, if you would draw a card, you would search your library for a card and put the card in your hand and then shuffle, which is really powerful. Thought Reflection, 7-drop enchantment. If you draw a card, draw 2 cards instead. Wall of Ideas, 6-drop enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, draw 2 cards at the beginning of each other player's draw step. That player draws an additional card at the beginning of your draw step. You draw 2 additional cards. War Scale Quatli? I've got no idea what this is. Codal, maybe? Anyway, 3-drop Creature Snake. Whenever you draw a card, you put a +1/+1 counter on it. It's a 2/2. Nezahal Primal Tide, 7-drop, legendary creature, Elder Dinosaur. Can't be countered, you have no max hand size, so whenever the opponent casts a non-creature spell, you draw a card, discard 3 cards, exile it, return it to the battlefield, tap turn zone's control at the beginning of the next end step. Tide Spout Tyrant. This is an amazing card. It's an 8-drop, 5/5 flying Djinn. Whenever you cast a spell, return target permanent to its owner's hand, which includes lands, so bounce everything to your opponent's hands, and then they can't cast anything, and that's amazing. And Laboratory Maniac is 3-drop, creature, human, wizard. If you draw a card while your library has no cards in it, you win the game instead. Now, there were some cards in here that should definitely go back in here that took the place of the... I'm trying to find them. That took the place of the Clone and the other thing, the Vizier. The Spark Double actually stayed in here. But Clone and Vizier are supposed to be Tezzeret and Jace. And so one of them is going to be the new Jace, and the other one's going to be the Tezzeret from M19. I think. Anyway, you should probably switch them out for those cards. They don't actually do anything for the deck. You could put in Chasm Skulker if you'd like. That's a... Oh, I hope it's a 3-drop. I think it's a 3-drop 2/2, possibly. Whenever you draw a card, put +1/+1 counter on it. But it also has, when it dies, create X 1/1 blue squids with Island Walk, where X was the number of counters on it, or something. But it doesn't have Island Walk by itself. But it's a pretty good card. It's also expensive, but that could go in. You could have Animar. No, not Animar. Animar is very different. I can't remember what the card is, but you've got Mind Over Might, or something like that, and that says you can discard a card to untap or tap target permanent. And then you also play Arcanus, and Arcanus says tap, draw 3 cards, and so then you can draw out your entire deck with that. And then because you can also untap your lands, you can play your win con. And then you could have Cloud Key or anything that reduces the cost of artifacts or historics. Anything to look at the top card of your deck and then be able to cast it, and then, except for Bolus of Citadel, because that'll kill you, but that's in black, so it doesn't matter. And then Sensei's Divining Top, and then you just tap it, draw a card, put it on top, free cast it, tap it, draw a card, put it on top, and you get the idea. And then I think that there's another combo that, but I can't remember. So anyway, like I said, this is blue splash green. There's 76 blue mana symbols in this deck. Once you switch out the clone and the Vizier, there will be 76. And then there's 18 green. So yeah, that's quite a big difference. So actually balancing the lands for this deck was fun. So going over the lands, we've got Myriad Landscape, enters the battlefield tap, taps for colors, pay 2, tap it, sack it, search your library for up to 2 basic land cards that share a land type, put them on the battlefield, tap, then shuffle. Warped Landscape, it taps for colorless, pay 2, tap it, sack it, search your library for basic land card, put it on the battlefield, tap, then shuffle. Evolving Wilds, tap it, sack it, search for a basic land card, put it on the battlefield, tapped, and shuffle. This literally reads the exact same way as the other one, just happens to have a different name, Terramorphic Expanse. And Prismatic Vista's really expensive. It's $25-ish. It's from Modern Horizons. I opened up one pack. I pulled this. I thought it was terrible. Probably would have torn it up if somebody hadn't told me that it was worth $20. So thank you to Mr. Dye who told me that it was $20. Except for he doesn't go by Mr. Dye because he's not quite, but he's technically an adult. So I'm going to call him Mr. Dye for the sake of this video. Thank you, Mr. Dye. It's a land. You tap it, pay 1 life, sacrifice it, search for your library for basic land card, put on the battlefield. It is not tapped, and then shuffle your library. It's a pretty good card, actually, now that I read it, but I thought that it read the exact same way as Evolving Wilds, and it just went on tapped, and it had you pay a life, and it was rare, and I thought that was absolute trash, but this card's actually really good. I'm going to be trading it off later. Replace it with an island, probably, if you can't get your hands on this specific card. If you can't get your hands on this specific card, I don't blame you, because it's very expensive. We got Reliquary Tower, which says that you have no maximum hand size, times for colorless. Nephilia Academy. If a spell on your ability and opponent controls causes you to discard a card, you may reveal that card and put it on top of your library instead of putting it anywhere else, and it taps for colorless. We have 23... Is that right? Yeah, we have 23 islands and 10 forests. That should be right. Let me just count them real quick. Because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yep, we have 10 forests and 23 islands. 40 lands in total. Don't worry, you're not going to have a problem getting out lands. I promise that you're not going to have a problem getting out lands, because you're eventually going to be having your lands tapped for 2 additional mana, and then you're going to be copying every single spell that you play, and then you're going to cast an army of ramp spells, and then you're going to get every single land out of your deck, except for your non-basics, which is unfortunate. And then you're going to draw probably 20 cards in that turn and gain maybe 5 life, but that part's irrelevant. And then you're going to win the game the turn after, because, you can. You could also put in any sort of infinite turn combo, but you really don't need it with this deck, being as controlly as it is. Like I said, I'm going to be playing this in a 2-day Giant Commander tournament. I'll let you know how it goes in the next video, which probably won't be up until Monday. I don't think I'll be able to upload over the weekend, just because of how my internet is working and it's very slow, so I hope that you're understanding with that. I might be able to scrap together, like, a video from my computer that doesn't have sound and upload that, but that will be it. I mean, it'll have sound, but it won't have, I won't be able to comment over it. If I do that, it will be Simic. It will be a Simic deck, because the Sultai failed, and whatever black, white, and blue is failed terribly. Yeah, so... No, it wasn't even black, white, and blue. It was like blue, white, and green or something, and it didn't work either. So anyway, Simic is pretty good, and it's on my mind. So thank you guys for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a like. I think it's Tezzeret Artifice Master that I'm thinking of. That's the Tezzeret. But anyway, you want the new Tezzeret and Jason here for sure. I'm going to try and get in, if you want to do additional upgrades, there's Krufix. He's a god. He could actually be your commander, but I feel like Tatyova is a much better commander for what our deck does. But he has indestructible. He's not a creature unless your devotion to green and blue is like 5 or something, which isn't a problem, normally at least. He's an enchantment if he's not a creature. He's like a 5/5 if he is a creature. And then he says, if mana would empty from your mana pool, it becomes colorless instead. So he's pretty good. I'm gonna try and get him, but I'm not no guarantees. And then also, whenever there's some other cards like any cards that say that you can play additional lands each turn or make your lands tap for additional mana. Those cards are amazing additions to this deck and definitely need to go in. So Vorinclex would be a good one, especially because we're playing control. But Vorinclex it's got a really high devotion to green to be putting in the deck, and it has like too many green mana symbols in it because we only run 10 forests, and you saw we don't have any other sources of green, so it could be a pain to cast it. Otherwise, this is the deck. I've play tested it a couple times. It's done very well both times. Game one, I don't know why it is, but when I test a deck, the first game I always get God Hand, and so of course game one with God Hand did very well. And then game two, I did not get God Hand until probably turn 20, but the fact that I made it to turn 20 was good. And actually, it probably wasn't turn 20, it probably only lasted 15 turns, but it was probably turn 7 I got God Hand, or God Cards at least, from that one. And it did very well afterwards, of course. Um, you definitely need to be able to get down certain cards in this deck, and anything that'll let you draw cards for cheap mana is good. I'm going to ask my friend today, which is technically Thursday, because I'm recording this on Thursday, so this video is going up on Friday, but I recorded it on Thursday, so anyway, I'm going to ask my friend today if he can help me maybe fix some bumps in the deck, because he's been playing Mono Blue for over a year now. He's got this epic J stack that just, oh my gosh, the thing's, it's so good, but it's stupid, and he can take infinite turns in it with just flickering instants and sorceries or some junk like that. And then he draws his deck out, and it's really annoying because everything's really cheap costing because he plays Brawl and Sapphire Medallion, and so it's just crazy what he can do. Oh, and Toothy would be a good addition to this deck. Toothy and Purr would be, maybe not Purr so much, but Toothy would be a great addition. And then if you can sack off Toothy, you can draw more cards, which is what he did to win, actually. He sacked off Toothy. I asked him, why would you ever sack off Toothy? He's your imaginary friend. He said, well, I needed to win the game. I'm like, yeah, but you could have just won the game the other way. He's like, I know, but I needed to win the game. He had the game won no matter what. He had probably 50 counterspells in his hand. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. This has been Tatyova, Mythic Druid. I've gone on a couple rants in this video. I apologize. Um, and I will see you guys, I guess, next time. So, see you then.